Sorry, that made me. Sorry,
we're in again.
When it stopped, it made me jump when the music came in. I don't know what I was thinking about.
I don't know if you noticed, but that's new music.
Yeah, it's really loud.
Mate, well, is it? Sorry. Well,
It made me jump.
headphones in. But the only reason I changed that is because it used to say lockdown locking, and as we know, even in Ireland, we're not in lockdown anymore. So it's now the lock-in. So all I did was I changed that logo, but then I couldn't find the original music, so we've had to change to some new music.
That's quite, yeah, it's funky and loud. It just I was looking over here, and it just made me jump. That's like, I don't know what's going on.
Well, Baz, at your age, it's always good, that, isn't it? So it's like, just a quick nudge every so often, make sure you've not dropped off. You know what I mean?
I'm holding on to the mains. It's fine.
There you go. So, hello, everyone. Right, I'm going to click on the chat thing. So, yes, people are here. That's it. We're live. Good. That means I pressed the live button at the correct time this time.
Great.
Tell you, Baz, what was this? This is probably number 10, I think. And do you know what?
It's supposed to be more. We can check.
More?
We'll get the researchers on it.
Hey, but do you know what I mean? I think we might be getting there. Let's see if we can manage one that doesn't have any technical hitches.
Oh no, don't do that. It'd be ridiculous.
Not likely, really, is it? So, hello, everybody. Don't forget, throughout tonight, you can pipe up in the chat section, whether you're on Twitch or you're on YouTube. Join in. I can see we've got Lacey, Kathy, Martin chatting away already. So yeah, ask us any questions and ask our special guest. We've got a guest tonight.
Tonight feels like a real a celebrity. To be fair,
I think it is.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Such a celebrity that she pied us off last week. Do you know what I mean? Like some celebrities do. Do you know what I mean? To be fair, she did tell me that she was stuck in traffic. So after being sat in traffic for a week, she's finally got here. So we're all right. So yeah, we've got a guest coming up tonight. And yes, so Baz, before we get our guest on, what have you been up to this week? Anything exciting?
I have worked this week. It sounds very dramatic. I was up in Warwickshire yesterday. What day is it today? It's Wednesday. Yes, it was yesterday. Sorry.
What day is it today? How many days a week do we do a podcast, you clown?
It's literally. I couldn't tell you anymore. So yes, I worked yesterday, and obviously we had the bank holiday weekend, and yeah, I was literally getting over that on Tuesday because there's 3 days of constant drinking, which a man of my age shouldn't be doing these days. But yeah, what are you going to do?
Yeah, I've definitely not been drinking most nights since COVID shut my business back in last September. So that's nearly a year, and that's definitely not a good thing.
No.
But to be fair, binge drinking's worse. So there you go. There's always something worse. Constant drinking is okay. It's much better than binge drinking.
So
I'm going to say hello to we've got Alex Lovell.
Hello, Alex Lovell. How are you? Where are you from?
Very welcome on board. If you've not been on before, basically this is just me and Baz sitting in our virtual pub, having a few drinks and chatting shit. I think it's probably the best description of it.
It was quite highbrow last week, I have to say. So,
do you know what? I'd been day drinking. I don't really remember what we said. So. Who knows, mate? We got Alex is from Scotland. Hello, Scotland.
Alex. So we need to warn Alex that there are other comments coming from Twitch users, but you won't be able to see those because I've noticed you're on YouTube. So we can switch over to Twitch, then you'll probably be able to join in with the comments. But if not, we'll continually update everybody else about what you're saying.
No problem at all. Right, my nephew's on board. Right, we can start properly now because my nephew's on board.
There he is. Hello, Archie.
Archie's in the chat section. So I'm going to bring on our guest. As you all know, if you are regular watchers of the Lock-In, we do very little preparation and research on our guests. We get top quality guests and then do very little research. Firstly, because I like the general chat and the interaction, and I like asking the questions you want to know and asking genuine questions from interested to find out the answer to my questions instead of having questions I know the answer to before we start. That's the first reason. And the second reason is that Baz and I are far too lazy to do any research.
Yeah.
Well, there we go.
Why waste the situation where you could ask somebody who's right in front of you or wherever they are what you need to know about them?
Exactly. And yeah, so in a very brief, the introductions are always brief because, like I say, I know very little about the people that come on the show. Our guest tonight is somebody that, had I done an awful lot of research, I presume I would have been able to find out an awful lot of research because we've had lots of people on here who tend to be very famous within our little TikTok community, but not famous outside of it. And we've got somebody tonight who is actually on the telly. Baz, remember when that was important to kids?
You'd be important to us.
Remember, it still is to me. Some of my son's mates came up and said, "You're famous." I was like, "I've never been on telly." Telly makes you famous, not numbers. Not numbers on a social media. Anyway, we're already waffling and we've kept her waiting for far too long. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would like you to meet our special guest for the evening. It's Alex Lovell.
Who?
Here she is. Yeah, famous in a very specific region, I think.
Very specific region. Everyone's going to be like, oh, no idea. Move on.
So people, I will tell you the bare minimum about Alex. Alex is a TV presenter stroke newsreader for the BBC in the south of England.
Yep.
Also, the other things I know about Alex is she rides a motorcycle and she's done a bit of power boating.
Yeah. And that's it.
That's my research done, because that's what I found out from your TikTok.
That's the essence of me. So you've got it.
There you go. Well, I found
thanks, guys.
Now time for the weather.
I found you through TikTok, and that's all I learned from TikTok. So
yeah,
so that was a good start. But from that, I knew that you would be a great guest, and that people would want to know more about it. As we were behind the scenes before we went live, I hope everybody else agrees that this looks like, when lockdown, when they couldn't have guests in the studio, and they threw to somebody who was like, "Hi, I'm here, and I'm going to do this." Look, she's absolute professional. Look at this.
This is actually during lockdown. We did start broadcasting from here. We did one in the news interview, and then I did quite a few pre-records here with people around the region. And then I started doing my own interviews at 11 o'clock each morning, just to kind of raise everyone's spirits, because we forget, don't we? When lockdown first happened, we didn't even know if there was going to be food in the supermarkets. I mean, we were all like, and I'd always go out to the gardens. There'd always be nice flowers here, and so I haven't done this now for a year and a half. So it's quite reminiscent, actually, to go back and do this, because it reminds me of a time when people really needed each other and people were reaching out and they were really scared. So it's a weird memory, but quite a warm one, actually.
Well, there were obviously quite a few incidences with people who were doing the similar thing at the time, with perhaps unwanted things on shelves in the background and people turning up. So,
yes,
hold on, let me have a look.
Yes.
Good look. I think we're all right.
It became a sort of kind of meme on its own, didn't it? With all those people having. Well, the first one was the guy's kids that came in the background when he was. Yes.
and they were like, "It's the nanny," and it turned out it wasn't the nanny; it's his wife. And then there was a furore about why we assumed it was the nanny, and the kids were dragged out. I mean, yeah. And then people, especially the politicians, arranging the books correctly, and the background's got to be just right. Yeah, there's a lot of faux pas in the background. That's why.
Then you see the ones. You see the ones that get the artificial background. Where you can only see about a millimeter around them. It's like,
and then the face disappears every time the green screen goes a bit wrong.
You're trying to squint your eyes and see what they're trying to hide behind.
Yeah. I thought there was a business in that, actually, at one point. I thought actually making some kind of rigid background that you could put up that would be quite decorative. I thought, well, someone should get on that. But
make your house look nicer than it is.
Yeah.
I've got a plant and a settee and some cushions and a ring light. I don't know which way to point. Not that way. That way. There you go.
Very nice. What I quite like, actually, was Mike, when you had a little drink just before we came on air, and I thought you were going to have a pint, being a good northern bloke, and you were there with something akin to this. Hang on.
There you go.
I'm a very sophisticated gentleman.
Very posh.
Well, we should start off the usual question we always ask each other, and I guess as we're in a pub, what are you drinking this evening?
I will be drinking a Pinot Rosé, nice pale rosé. What are you drinking, Baz?
Well, I if I'm not drinking bottles of beer, which I don't do very often, I'm a rum drinker. So every week I'm on it. It's literally rum and Coke is what I drink. It's always the same.
That's very Caribbean, isn't it?
Well, it's very pirate. So obviously,
he's not from the Caribbean. He is a pirate.
I was useless.
Literally just off the ship. So.
Yeah.
And Mike, what are you on tonight?
What are you drinking?
I'm drinking a cheeky little Vino Frizzante. It says on the front of the bottle of Prosecco that I got from Aldi. Cheers.
What is it? When it's like, I'm drinking this peanut, and it's got a soft.
Yes,
red.
I believe it's very good with chicken, and it's got a fruity nose. I don't know. I haven't got a clue. No, the reason is that approximately 15 minutes before we came on air, I fired down lamb chops and potatoes, and I'm bloated. So there you go.
I love lamb chops. Where's your accent from then, Mike?
My accent is, I'm from a town called Bury, just north of Manchester.
There's a catchphrase there.
Oh,
That's
not
what I'll say.
classic Manchester accent, though. It's very, very different from Manchester.
No, I mean, it's in Greater Manchester, so it's literally like 10 miles away from the centre of Manchester. It's a bit greener.
When I went up to visit him, not only did I become the greatest northerner known to man, but Mike's accent was sort of slowly sort of getting very Gallagher-esque as we were there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was weird. It was weird because when we first got together, we met up, we had some dinner, and we went to play golf. And within about an hour, Baz was talking like something off Emmerdale, which isn't even Manchester. Do you know what I mean?
No.
Unbelievable.
West
He was just absorbing some northern, and I think in retaliation, I turned into like Frank Gallagher or Noel Gallagher. More likely
How
Frank.
come you're in Ireland then?
It was a woman. A woman did it.
Sweet love.
No, my wife's Irish, and I said no. Every time she said, literally said many times a year, can we move to Ireland? I said no because I've got an older daughter. But she's
Whereabouts are you?
We're in Donegal, right up in the northwest.
So my grandmother, I want to get on my motorbike and explore my grandmother's where she grew up, which is Omagh, County Tyrone.
Omagh, it's pronounced. Omagh.
That's
Just
quite close, isn't it?
It is. That is about 40 minutes away from me. In fact, I'm playing golf in Omagh tomorrow.
Really?
Yeah,
I really want to go there and find out all the stories. My dad did a wonderful tape with my late granny, talking all about her early days when she was working on the farm and how her mum had so many kids and how, I mean, loads of them died. Actually, it was awful. But the life that they lived at the turn of the century and how she came over to England. And I'm like, I've got to go back and explore, but I really want to go back on my bike.
100%. There's two ways you can go. You can either go all the way up to Scotland and come across to Belfast, going that way.
Yeah.
Or a nicer drive/ride would be to go to North Wales, get up to North Wales, cross over. You go from Holyhead to Dublin, and drive up, go up through Ireland.
Oh, someone told me that the roads aren't brilliant for bikes in Ireland.
They're fine.
Are they?
Yeah.
Sorry, any Irish fans.
Honestly.
But I do want to explore my Irish heritage.
Needless to say, the day you decide to come over here, let me know. I'll roll out the Manc Irish hospitality for you, and you're welcome. You're welcome where we are whenever you are. So yes, we mentioned that you. Somebody says lost us there for a minute. Never mind, we'll carry on. So yeah, we mentioned that you've got to get to bed early tonight because you are working, I believe, 9 till 7 tomorrow.
Yep.
This is the exciting bit for me. What is day like for you? Talk us through your day.
Okay, so normally, well, it's changed a little bit, but normally it would be a slightly shorter day. So I'd normally get in at about 12 till 7. I would do the lunchtime bulletin that you always see. So you've got Sophie Rayworth or Jane Hill or whoever it might be on BBC One doing the lunchtime BBC One news. And then they'll say, now we're crossing to the BBC News teams, wherever you are. So I would be, so our area is the southwest. So we're based in Bristol. We cover Gloucestershire, out into Wiltshire to just beyond Swindon, all the way down through Somerset and a little bit of Dorset. So we've got quite a big area. And so we then take over transmission and we transmit to our area. And then in the afternoon, I'll be preparing for any interviews I've got to do. I might be looking through links that I've got to read, or writing links I've got to read, or rewriting links I've got to read, and writing all the headlines and things like that. And then at 5:30, I go down to my little dressing room and I get ready. We don't have makeup BBC national networks still have makeup, I think, but we don't in the regions because it's cutbacks. So we paint our faces and then sit on the set at 6 o'clock and go on air at 6:30 when George Alagai says, now the news where you are. Or I will get in slightly later and do the 6:30 and the 10:30. Same principle, different times.
That's amazing. So why are you in at 9 tomorrow then? What's different tomorrow?
Well, that's a really good question. It's basically all down to scheduling and my timings. I've got to do a 10-hour day for the next 2 days for my hours. So it's really boring. So I'm already wondering what I'm going to be doing tomorrow morning. However, I've no doubt find something to do. So that is a very poignant question.
I think we just stumbled across some scandal there.
Yeah.
That Alex Lovell tomorrow morning is going to be spinning on a chair on taxpayers' money, doing absolutely nothing.
Oh, I tell you what, my producer tomorrow, he will find something for me to do. I've been on holiday for 2 weeks, and even before I went, I said I've got these 2 weird days when I'm in the morning instead of coming in at lunchtime and doing lunch at 6:30 or 6:30 and 10:30. That's what we call them. What am I going to do? And he went, I'll find lots for you to do. So yeah, I think I'll be doing some probably editing, video, God knows. Yeah, they'll find something for me to do.
Well, I used to.
The next 2 days are an anomaly. They're not normally like that. It's just hours coming off holiday.
I was going to say, because I used to want to be in TV, but starting at 9 sounds horrendous. So.
Tell me about it. I'm a late night person. I don't do earlies ever. So actually, plus there's going to be horrendous traffic going in. So I'm like, right, I think I'll probably take the motorbike in because I'll get through the traffic more easily. But yeah, 9 o'clock is not my idea of fun either. Plus, you know, at the end of the day, if you do a 10-hour day, when you get towards the end of your shift, you're a bit like ready to go home now. That's when I've got to be sparkly. That's the moment at 6:30 in the last 45 minutes of my shift. I've got to be most on the ball, improvising, interviewing, sparkly. So, yeah.
That's a really good point. So when you, how long have you been doing it?
So I joined the Beeb in 2005, so 16 years.
Wow. And have you been in the same kind of region, doing the same kind of?
Yeah. So before that, it was very different. I didn't think I'd get the job when I went for it because originally I went to drama school, not journalist. I didn't study journalism. I was an actress for a very short period of time and then got into telly, kids telly, shopping telly, best experience ever. Don't ever knock shopping telly. You could say,
I'd love to do that.
Tell me that. You'd be brilliant at it, actually. Tell me that. You've got to keep going until you've sold them all. And there's only so much you can say about that, Pyro, but you just keep finding things to say. So I did that, which is really good experience because if you're on live TV, sometimes you've just got to keep it going. Then I got a quiz show. I was doing a quiz show on Channel 5. So I was more Ellie, light entertainment presenter. And then I was working on a Channel 5 quiz show in Bristol. And I saw an advert. They actually advertised for the BBC for a newsreader. I was like, I won't get it, but I would love to push myself and go for it. And because they were looking for a presenter, the Beeb can teach you the journalism side of it, as opposed to a journalist going for it and having to learn to be a presenter. Sure. So lo and behold, they said, would you come back for a second audition? I was like, oh my God, yeah. So for a year, I was doing Channel 5, which was live. The quiz show was live. So at 12:30 to 1:30 live on Channel 5. My lunch break was getting from one side of Bristol to the other. I'd kind of put my metaphorical news reading hat on, read the news, finish at 7. So I did short days. And then after a year, just the BBC, and learned the journalism in the job. So it was a really massive learning curve. But not an original journalist. Wow. Sorry, I'm just going to the bar. Is that okay?
Yeah, please.
Of course.
Well, one of the reasons we didn't do this on TikTok is because you obviously can't drink and smoke and do other sort of like adult things on there.
Is that right?
Yeah, you could get kicked off. So hence the reason we come on here. So you can do whatever you like, within reason.
I didn't even think to ask if I could have an alcoholic drink.
Well,
Of course,
Mike will tell you.
pub.
Mike will tell you what's the ruling again, Mike, that you can't do on here?
You're allowed to drink, but not dangerously. So if you start to ride a unicycle and juggle chainsaws whilst you're drinking that, then that's forbidden.
We'll get kicked off, yeah.
But you're not allowed to drink dangerously. Okay.
Fine.
So two hands like that.
Yeah.
So presumably this is a rare thing for you to be able to be interviewed or spoken to on a camera as such whilst drinking. Obviously, it's something you can't do when you're working.
Absolutely, I'll probably be sacked tomorrow. Brilliant, well done.
I think you'd be sacked if George Alagaya says, right, we'll go with the news in your region. And you're there.
Yeah, not like that.
Chin up in here since now.
Yeah, and look, I'm being safe. Two-handed drinking.
These two idiots taught me into drinking, and now I'm like, that's it. I've been on it since 9. Producer didn't have anything for me to do, so I just thought I'd drink.
But it's nice. It's interesting for me to be interviewed because normally I don't. As I'm on the.
You're I
can't help but occasionally flip it.
But I did notice that through our initial chat, you started to interview me.
Yeah, I did.
which is fine. This is deliberately. It is supposed to be a two-way thing, but I just think that's brilliant.
Accents. I've always loved accents, so I love trying to place somebody. I wasn't brave enough to do it on this, but I always try and say to somebody, "Are you from?" Do you remember what was it? What was the name of the film? Really, really famous. Flower seller turned My Fair Lady.
Oh yeah.
And what's his name? The main protagonist.
I think you've got the wrong audience for that question. Tarantino films were all right on, but musicals were like,
within a mile of where they live. Somebody will know. Somebody will be typing
there
it
you
down.
go.
Watch out on the socials. Someone will tell us.
Well, this is the quiz team on here as well.
Henry Higgins.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Henry Higgins in it. Yeah, there you go.
So you said last week was highbrow.
Well, it wasn't really. It was Baz decided that last week was highbrow. It's just me and him. I mean, it can't really get that highbrow, can it? Well, we've got somebody. We've got somebody from Brazil in the building tonight as well. There you go. We've got an international.
Wow.
So we can't give you the professionalism of the BBC. We can't give you the audience of the BBC. But you know, we're taking you beyond Bristol. We're taking you beyond Bristol and Swindon.
I feel that. Full love to Brazil.
There you go. We've got Brazil. We've got Brazil, Germany, Scotland, and yeah, some other places.
Blackpool.
Guten Abend.
There you go. There you go. That's not how they say it in Brazil. Sorry, that's not how it works. So right, I've got a list of they're kind of cheesy questions, but I'm not going to. I don't care. So one question is, who's these questions are like what everybody wants to know, which is who's the most famous person you've met?
Up until tonight, obviously.
Yeah. Apart from this, Michael Caine.
Oh wow! Was that recently or a while ago?
It was a couple of years ago. He was promoting his book. He was in Bristol and he was doing a book flipping signing in Bristol. And they said, would you like to go and interview him? And it was interesting because very early on in my career, in 2005, when I joined, I'm a massive fan of Simon Pegg.
What?
You know who he is?
Yes, of course.
Yeah. Sorry, Simon.
I was waiting for a big announcement then. Simon Pegg.
No.
Who is now my boyfriend? I was expecting.
So I was a massive fan of Simon Pegg, but I was so much a fan that I got myself into a knot and I got all insecure and I couldn't interview him. So I gave the interview to someone else.
Wow.
I know. And I really regret that because I think he just is such a brilliant actor, such a nice guy. Did you ever watch, what was the series? He started off doing a series set with a girl. Gav, what's the name of that series?
Was it Spaced?
Spaced. Do you remember it?
Yeah, really
When I
good.
first saw it, yeah.
They're always talking about how much they hate Jar Jar Binks.
Yep.
Yeah.
So when I met him and I was going to do the interview, I was so intimidated. I was like, okay, I was revving myself up for it. And I went to this cake maker in Bristol, this wonderful woman. And I said to her, can you make a Jar Jar Binks cake for me, but fill it with some kind of gook, kind of raspberry coulis or whatever, so that when he cuts it, it'll kind of bleed everywhere. And it'll be some, some homage to the fact that he can eat Jar Jar Binks because he's hated it so much. So I had this cake made and he adored it. And then I went, but Will is going to interview you, and disappeared because I was so shy. When Michael Caine came up, I was like, I've got to do it. Got there. I had very strict, something like 4 minutes. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was something like that. There was a lady sitting or standing pretty much behind Michael, out of camera shot, who was keeping an eye because it was a bit of a junket, so people were going to be coming in. But Michael was the loveliest person ever. First of all, you meet him and he said, hello, my name's Michael. I mean, of course we all know who he is.
Drink out, because if you'd come out, hello, my name is Michael Caine.
Right, I know, exactly. But the fact that he didn't presume, even though it's pretty obvious that we know that he's Michael, but he played the humble card. I thought that was very charming. He was very fatherly. He was very sweet, very funny, and he just loves telling a yarn. So at one point, this woman's standing there, like, telling me I need to stop. He's in the middle of the story and he's like and I can't really go, Michael, you need to stop because he's giving me evils. I'm just sitting there nodding, smiling at him adoringly. I thought he was wonderful. So yeah, my pretty cool claim to fame.
You've given us not just a famous person, but a really nice person.
Yes.
Who's the no, come on. Come on.
I can't do it.
Who's the person you've thought, I hope this person's going to be really good, and they were a dick?
Okay, there was one, but I can't. I'm not going to say it. But awful. No, but I can't, and he's dead. So
but it doesn't matter.
I can't libel him. Nah, no, I can't do that. It's horrible.
Oh.
Off camera, no, I can't.
Oh yeah, well I'll ask afterwards then. Yeah. Right. Hit it down, Mike. We're going to find out who it is.
Yeah.
I'll WhatsApp you later. I need to know who that is.
Okay. Sorry, everyone. I know that's really boring.
So what's the most awkward moment you've had on camera?
Oh, that's a good question. One day I had hiccups in the middle of the news. That was really tough because there's not really much you can do about it. So did you just have to style it out, or were you constantly going, I was laughing my head off, and I asked my co-presenter at the time, with single presentation now there's only one of us, but we used to be there used to be two of us. I asked if he wouldn't mind carrying on, and my trick, which works every time for getting rid of hiccups, I don't know if you know this one, is drinking out of the glass. Yeah. So I did that. I was like, I think
on camera
in the West Country are pretty used to me being a bit odd sometimes. But they speak well, they're not going to be horrible to me to my face, but most people seem to say or give me nice feedback and say that it's quite a giggle, or they'll go, oh, it was so funny the other day when you did this, and I'm like, oh god, I'm glad you like that.
See, I should imagine after 15 years, you're kind of in that region, kind of like a kind of almost an institution, like kind of a. It's like in my region when it was Gordon Burns. Gordon Burns always used to do the Northwest.
ITV.
Sorry,
wasn't he ITV?
No.
Oh, was he BBC?
Yeah, he did Krypton Factor on ITV. But he was the BBC. He was a BBC Look Northwest presenter.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. Yeah, I think so. Especially of that genre, of that age, actually, because they've done like 25, 30 years, and people have grown up with them, and now their kids are growing up with them. So yeah. Although let me just write this down.
Just while you do that, presume.
Hang on,
Go on.
Dear diary, today I was alluded to being an institution.
There you go.
There you go.
Which means I'm now old.
Not at all. Not at all. I meant it with a. I just think it's.
No, you're right. You become part of people's household.
People must come up to you and talk to you like you know them.
They know you. Yeah.
And that is the absolute bestest thing. I love doing light entertainment. I love doing quiz shows and everything else, but the fact that people come up and say, oh my God, I feel like I know you, I'm really sorry, that makes my day every single time. When they just chat to you like you're an old friend, that means for me that I've broken the glass that's between the camera and their telly, and I've actually come into their room, and if that's how they feel, then that's all I would ever want. So when they chat, they're like, oh yeah, the other day my dad came home and he was like, oh no. I just feel like this is amazing. You don't know me, but you do, because I've tried to be myself on telly instead of being a newsreader, and that's a risk, and some people won't like it, but some people do because they feel it's a bit more human. So that's what I try and do. So
presumably you must have the people who are sort of relatively shy just going, oh, all right, Alex, and then that's it, as they pass you by then.
Yeah. And some people will just go, all right, and then you can see they go, I thought I knew her, I don't know her, but I kind of feel like I do. So, but that's nice too. Anyway, sorry, Baz, I interrupted you before. What were you saying?
Oh, sorry, I was just going to say that presumably what happens with your faux pas is that they obviously people can record it however they do. Has anything you've ever done ended up on YouTube or other kind of like channels like that?
Yeah, there were some quirky YouTubes like Alex in Tights. I once saw that.
Brilliant.
Yeah, there was an interview we once did with somebody. I can't remember why he was doing it, but he was on. Do you remember those space hoppers?
Yeah.
He'd done something extraordinary on a space hopper, so they thought it would be brilliant if I interviewed him on a space hopper. That went on YouTube, which is quite funny actually. I do quite like that.
Yeah.
What was the other thing? We had somebody who had launched a phone into space on a balloon that could withstand the kind of pressure of the atmosphere. And while he was demonstrating to us on air, somebody rang him to tell him he was on air. So I took the phone and answered it and told him that that kind of literal, I'll take that. Hello. Pick it up. Yeah, things do get on YouTube. That's fine. It's quite funny.
I was just saying, it must be the nature of the beast, because everything you do is live when you present, isn't it?
Oh.
So I'm guessing even at your station, it's recorded, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, it has to be. Everything's backed up, but yeah, you're right. There is absolutely no time delay. So when it goes out, it goes out. So
yeah.
And it's funny because I have a very, very dear friend who sadly isn't with us anymore, called Jeff. And one day I went round to his house and he'd been watching the news, and he said, "Oh, you should have seen, Alex, what happened. That something went wrong technically, and the girl who was reading the news, I don't know what station it was, but she really froze. She didn't know what to do, and she did that classic thing, which we've all done. I've done it a million times, where you start saying, and you've got people going mad in your ear. So we've got a technical problem at the moment, but we hope to return to the next report as soon as possible." And so they just freeze, and everything freezes. And he said, if she'd have just looked at the camera and said, "I'm so sorry, everyone's shouting in my ear right now, and I'm not quite sure when we're going to be able to go to that report," how much more honest would that be?
Yeah.
How much more entertaining? If you were sitting there watching, you'd be like, "Oh, this is quite cool." And so from then on, I thought, actually, that's what I'm going to do. Sometimes if it's going wrong, I'm going to say, okay, that's gone a bit wrong, clearly. Let's see if we can. So that moment really influenced me as a broadcaster, just trying to be a bit more honest. And also in shopping telly, I remember I had that first moment where something went wrong. I was selling, let's say I had a picture here, limited edition of a tiger. There's only 5 of them in the world and whatever. And I'm chatting about it. And so this is the artist, blah, 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 blah. And I said, right, we've got some bidders. And the piece of artwork came off the easel, slid off and smashed all over the floor. A very quick thinking camera person just got a shot of it. And I remember thinking, I don't know what to do, and had that freezing moment where you're just losing the plot and you've got to try and think of, and I remember thinking, own it, be in the moment. And I remember I said, well, now there are only 4 of them. So that was a change.
Did the price suddenly go up because there's only 4 of them now?
Sadly not, no.
The bids flying in. Funnily enough, like you've pretty much answered a question we've got from Gillian before she asked it. Have you ever had a corpsing incident while broadcasting?
Yeah. Right, what was it? It was bad. It was you might have to come back to this because I can never remember the name of the place. Oh, hang on.
Which part of the world?
Isn't it? This is
live broadcasting.
I remembered. There was an incident that had happened. I was with my co-presenter, so I'm going to swear. Sorry, everybody. I was with my co-presenter, and there was an instant. Actually, there's another one that had happened in a place in the West Country called Ditchit. And my co-presenter, instead of saying "did shit," said "did shit."
Did you?
So he said "did shit," and all I heard in my ear, because obviously I've got open talk hat, which means we can hear everything. It's not edited. It's not. They don't press a button like a tannoy system. You hear everything. You hear the printer going off. You hear the phone going off. You hear somebody communicating with the reporter who's coming up next. It's all going on. Did shit. And I just heard this. I was like, oh no, I'm gone. But then I'm gone. It was a mess. It was a complete mess. And then we had another story. And this was really tricky because you never know when things are odd. It's police are appealing for witnesses in part of the West Country where a man had jumped out in front of a woman dressed in a Smurf outfit. So the trouble is, this could have been serious. It could have been that actually he was a real problem, and you don't know that. But on the face of it, let's face it, every one of us is going to be eating our dinner, listening to the news and go, what? I was really, when your hand, you're like actually digging your nails into yourself because it's just, oh, this is untrue. So yeah, they happen. The worst thing though is when the gallery goes and you're lost because everyone's there in your ear and you're like, trying to keep it together.
I can only imagine that when Trevor McDonald did his famous faux pas by getting the area he was reporting about, the gallery must have been absolutely in stitches over that, but he had to hold it all together, right? I
can't remember what it was. What did he say?
It was the countryside.
Oh God! Did he? I've not seen that clip. Did he?
No. So he held it together because obviously, he was on.
I bet he went like that. Took his earpiece out.
I was going to say because obviously you'd know about that. Obviously, you just mentioned it wasn't something I thought about up until you just said then. But someone in the gallery or that must have been absolutely in stitches.
I bet. Oh, completely. They lose it. It's brilliant though. When you're a great big long 3-hour shift, still talking about this biro, and the gallery, the director might be having a row with a cameraman, and you'll be like, "Oh, this is really." Still trying to say, "Don't forget, this is something that blah blah blah." Keep it going.
So you were about to mention Victoria Derbyshire, there, weren't you?
Yeah, Victoria Derbyshire did that. Drop that word as well. Yeah, Jeremy.
Yeah, and actually
mispronounced Jeremy Hunt.
It is.
And then made it worse. And then made it worse by saying that men usually say that, but women don't, or something. She said.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She made it so much. She's from
No.
Bury. She's from Bury. There you go. There's another.
Sisterhood.
I'm not the only famous person from Bury.
I have a feeling. I have a feeling she meant to do that. I've got to be honest.
Oh, I don't think so. That would take
I can't imagine she got. Can't imagine she got praised by.
No. Well,
by-
no, he wouldn't get in trouble. I mean, loads of people did it with that name. I think.
Yeah.
I've heard a few. So, Mike, why aren't you on telly?
And why am I not on telly? I did want to work in TV originally. Like I said, I think this was before we came on air, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think if I was an agent, I'd snap you up.
Oh, why are you not an agent? Snap me up. You can be my agent. Snap me up.
If you want to show any,
Bounce.
Go on. What'd you say?
Who?
You.
Oh, you got the bounce. You've got the.
I would.
I'd be all over Shopping Channel. I'd be all over it. Have you seen the guy who used to be a kids TV?
Yeah,
What's
Pete
he called?
Simon. I worked with him.
Peter Simon.
Yeah, he'd always fall over and stuff. What
He's took it to a new level.
Guy.
He's just took it. He's took Shopping Channels to a new level.
Yeah, he's a nice man. Very funny.
I was working at the Royal Windsor Horse Show, and Mike and another one of our friends came. And Mike did a comedy day at the Royal Windsor Horse Show. It's really good. It's on TikTok, but if you find it, I'd say just show that to some of your friends because you get a job out of that. But I showed it to the organisers of the event.
Please don't make her watch. But I'll send it to you on WhatsApp.
Yeah. But I showed it to the organisers of the event, and they were blown away by it because obviously it's a northern man's view of a very posh country event. They absolutely loved it.
I'm available for any publicity work next year, Baz. You just pass that message on, mate.
I will, yeah, for sure.
This is it. I'm willing to take over the social media channel of the Royal Windsor Horse Show. No problem.
I'm not sure they'd let you interview the Queen.
Yeah, me and Madge go way back. Honestly,
he'd say, "All right, Your Majesty, I haven't done any research. I don't know that much about you."
That's right. I know you're on the tenor and stuff, but I don't know. I don't really know that much about you, to be honest.
You can imagine our question. So, how did you become the Queen, then, Your Majesty?
Yeah, what's the most famous person you've ever met?
And you know what? It's like when I used to go to school with Gary and Phil Neville. I was very good friends with Gary Neville at school, and I hadn't seen him for ages, and I just stumbled across him in a bar, and I was like, "Hi, Gary, how are you?" Like that. And you know, normally, if you're not seeing someone from 5 years, you go, "What are you up to then?"
Yeah, exactly. Ruins it.
Yeah, all right, Gary. Yeah. I've probably seen you on telly twice a week for the last 5 years. I know exactly what you've been doing. I'm a massive England fan. I would follow England like home and away. And all that
I love you.
And I was just kind of like, so what do you do? Do you for a living these days? You doing all right?
I was just saying because it must be sort of difficult with you to come up when you've met other sort of celebrities or people that are in the news to come up with new questions other than the usual, you know. But most people are obviously in the news because they're either pushing something, aren't they, or something like that. But do you ever get an opportunity where you're doing the same thing we are now, where you're actually finding out about people, you know, outside of their celebrity status?
Oh, that's an interesting question. Possibly more when you're off air. For a while, I did radio as well, local radio, and I wasn't really very good at it. But I met some amazing people through that. Because you really get, instead of on telly, because it's a half-hour program, 4 minutes is a long interview. Whereas on radio, you're going to be doing half an hour like this. You can do half an hour, 90 minutes, whatever. And so on radio, I got to really know people, and then you can do what you're doing and actually go follow the conversation and go off piste and really learn about somebody. So yeah, you can do.
So the other question I was going to ask you was, obviously you said that you didn't come from a journalistic background. So is there a kind of a status within presenting, where you've come in it from from the entertainment side, and you're having to now sort of learn the hard hitting questions, or you said that you do light entertainment, but have you had to sort of like stand up to people who are journalists, or does it work the other way around?
I think for journalists, it's kind of weird when somebody comes into the newsroom and they're LE, they're like entertainment. It's like, whoa, why has this person come in here? So I had to prove myself, I think, in a fair way. Obviously, you get advice and guidance, and obviously also it's the BBC. So and they teach journalists and journalism. So if you're ever going to learn, it's a great place to learn. But almost certainly, when it first started, there was this feeling that I had to have my wits about me. But it was interesting because in the interview, they said to me, how would you prepare for an interview? I was like, I'll do loads of research and blah, blah, blah. And they said, yeah, but what if we just land an interview? Let's say there's an incident happening and you don't know anything about it. You know as much as the viewer. And I do exactly what you and Mike did tonight, which is like, I said, I'll ask the questions, hopefully, that people want to know at home. So it was like we were talking earlier. I'll write down, when I'm preparing for an interview, I'll write down all the most obvious questions without doing any research whatsoever. Then I'll do all my research and spend as much time as I need to make sure that I feel very confident, especially if it's a confrontational interview, if it's as we call it, holding to account, an interview where actually something's gone wrong, somebody's been a victim of something because of an institutional mistake, and then you've got to hold someone to account. That's a person who might have been in that job for 20 years and knows it inside out. And I'm coming in and suddenly I've got to question everything about what they're doing from an outsider's point of view. So I think those really obvious questions are important, but you've got to have the background research behind it. And that's common sense. And then there are journalistic things that you also learn as well. So it was quite a big learning curve.
I mean, if all else fails, you can sell them one of 4 pictures of a horse or whatever.
Tiger.
Do you know what I mean? Tiger, sorry. Yours didn't sell it very well. I thought it was a horse.
Oh, there's a good question at the top if you want to pop that one up.
Oh, at the top. Hold on. There's plenty of comments coming through, but they're mainly taking a piss out of me and you, Baz.
I know. It's nothing of you.
I can't see any of them. I hope they're being nice.
Someone's saying that me and Baz could be Dick and Dom for adults, which is...
or just Dick and Dick.
I'm not going to lie. I'm quite relieved that I just glanced at that comment and saw the word "dick," and I'm just glad that nobody was calling us that. And then Martin says Mike and Baz are basically at Waldorf and Statler, which is
love them.
do you know what? I take that as a massive compliment.
I would.
Absolutely brilliant.
Did you see my?
I don't know if it's the question you meant, Baz, but the question that I've got here is, look at that, eh? I did that. There was no producer who did that. There you go. Look at that. There you go. What story have you covered that has had the most impact on your life?
Oh, that's difficult because it's going to be a sad one.
That's okay. We can do sad. We won't be sad.
Oh, there've been a few, and there have been times when So repatriations. So when we were at the height of the fighting and our forces were suffering and being killed, the repatriations, you probably remember, they came back through the West. Yeah. They landed at RAF Lynham and they were repatriated. And so many people lined the streets. And there were days when I found it really difficult to kind of not feel really emotional. There was a terrible, terrible accident in Bath where a granny was walking along with her granddaughter, and on a very steep hill, a lorry was out of control. And it was tragic. And it wasn't just them. There were some people sitting in a car that also lost their lives. I found that just overwhelmingly upsetting.
And is that you covering it in terms of you being out as a reporter, or you in the studio
so
having to tell people
I'm normally in the studio, but when we have a really big story, they will send out the main presenter, as they do in most regions, to cover it. We've had things like the floods. The floods were really interesting, actually. Some of the floods that we had on the Somerset levels, as they're called, it was quite amazing. These people, their house would be, a few feet deep in water, ruined, and they were in the local community centre and welcoming. And Alex, it's so nice that you're here. Thank you for reporting on this. Really welcoming, but in a terribly desperate situation, so sometimes that really impacts you, just the kindness of people when they're in, the worst place that they can possibly be. There was another one as well that had a massive impact. What was it? I thought of it a second ago. Hang on. Had the most impact on my life. It was when, so here's a truthful moment. So when you're in the news, you shouldn't be the news. But I had a stalking incident, and he ended up being sent down, and he went to prison. And we decided, because we knew that it was in the press, that we would talk about it. Plus, having been through it, I learned so much from going through it that I wanted to tell people what I'd learned. Because in terms of stalking, there's really, really important messages that can be shared. And so I really wanted to share that so that something good would have come out of a bad experience. Sure. So that had a massive impact on my life. But ultimately, although it was really rubbish for ages, it was massively empowering, because he went to prison, and I was able to share with people what I'd learned. And the feedback that I got was very positive, in terms of people saying, thank you for saying that. I'm now implementing some of those ideas into my life, because I think I'm going through something similar.
And that's amazing, because you're blessed to have the forum to be able to turn that around into such a negative thing. I won't lie, I did kind of pick up a couple of these stories about that, and I wasn't gonna mention it.
No, I don't mind.
No, but it was to have the forum and to be able to, like you did, take it from something that was massively negative and a horrific thing to go through, but to have the platform to be able to turn that into a positive, and to help other people that may be going through it that don't have the platform that you've got. But also, I mean, that must have been amazing. But it must have been a really weird situation to, like you say, you shouldn't be when you're reading the news, you shouldn't be the news. So that must have been a really kind of strange kind of, I'm telling a massive news story that is in the public interest, but it's me.
Yeah.
That must be really weird.
Can I ask as well, is that the first time being famous? I don't know why I'm doing this. By being famous, is it sort of been...
She's properly famous, not like us, mate.
No, that's what I mean. Though, but...
There's a few 100,000 kids on the internet who know who we are. She's in people's living rooms every night.
Well, we're in people's living rooms every day. It's very strange.
I'm in a small area.
So what I was going to say was, so is that the most negative thing you've had about being famous?
Oh yeah, definitely. It was, yeah.
And also on the back of it, does it make you kind of want to step back from being there, or thinking that it's a possibility it could happen again, or
No, yes, it could happen again, and it wasn't the first time it happened either.
Right.
But it was literally, I'd be really happy to share it, and I can do it very quickly, some of the things I learned. And that's where I wanted to, because actually when you've been stalked, there are some very clear pieces of advice that you can share with people, and they're absolutely invaluable. So if you don't mind.
Not at all.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and anyone who's watching, wherever watches this, please share with other people. First of all, don't keep it to yourself. Talk about it. Secondly, if it feels weird, it's weird.
Yeah.
Thirdly, I'm not going to say first, second, third, because I'm going to forget where I'm at some point. The next point is keep a note of everything. As soon as something feels a little bit weird, write it down. It's so integral, because in stalking, it's very common for it to escalate, for it to start with something that's meaningless, seemingly, like a bunch of flowers arrives. Oh, that's quite nice. It's a bit odd, feels a bit odd. I'm not saying it's not nice to receive flowers. I'm saying sometimes there are circumstances where it doesn't really feel right, and you just know when it happens. It was that person who's been hanging around a bit, and then he sent me some flowers, and it's clear that I'm not interested. So starting to write things down, because when they escalate and it gets to the point where somebody's standing outside your house and you've forgotten what happened 2 years ago when it started, you need to have made a note of that. It's a weird thing. Stalking is quite a new offence in law. However, how it makes you feel is as relevant as any evidence that comes from it. So if it made you feel that you couldn't leave your house, that you were watching over your shoulder, thinking that someone was following you, that you became frightened for your own safety, that is as relevant as a weird note that's been left on your car saying, I'm watching you. It's feelings are very relevant in this circumstance. So things like that are really important. So that's just make a note of it, of your feelings, of circumstances, and talk to somebody about it. And of course, if it's getting dangerous, or you're really frightened, then, you know, go to the police. The police are really hot now. And I know people discuss, oh yeah, because you're on telly, you'll probably get loads of attention. There's different stalking. Yes, it doesn't just happen to people on the telly. I've spoken to so many people now, have reached out to me, men and women, who said, oh, I'm a doctor. There was a guy who's just always coming to see me. It was weird. He would sit at the end of my drive. He worked out where I lived. And we excuse things very often. We think, oh, maybe did I encourage that person? Was I too nice? We very often give way to our better instincts and think that was maybe my fault. If it's weird, make a note of it.
Great advice.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. Okay, so we'll change direction and pace a little bit.
Yes.
What brand's your motorcycle?
Well,
that's exactly what I wanted to know. Yeah, definitely.
This is from Martin. Martin's in Germany. So, what brand's your motorcycle?
I said good Abend. Meine Motorbike is it's a Triumph Street Twin.
Oh, that sounds like a bit of a beast. I'm not going to lie.
So I'm quite small. I'm 5'4". So I learnt to ride on a Honda 650, and I was just a little bit on my tiptoes. So when you're stopping, if you've got any kind of camber to the side of the road, I'm like, and dropped it. Whereas the Triumph's just that little bit lower. It's a really good fit for me. I have dropped him. He's called Cedric.
Of course.
However, he's beefy. He's raw. He's got a good roar. He's powerful, but affectionate.
We're still talking about a motorbike.
Yeah. So Cedric is a Triumph Street Twin, which is a 900 engine.
And so how long have you been riding a bike?
Almost a year to the day.
Oh, really? And you're up to 900 already. So that's a big step from a 650 as well. And 650 is a big start.
So my lessons were on a 650, but for me, it was about just getting on a bike that I just needed the right height and power enough that it felt really safe. And when I test drove and I have no affiliation to any other brands are available.
I think my bikes are available.
Not the BBC anymore.
I loved it. I just immediately loved it.
What was the first reasoning for getting a motorbike? Because it's not the usual sort of mode of transport for everybody. You know, it's quite a niche thing, isn't it?
Yeah. I think, if I'm honest, it's an absolute classic midlife crisis.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah. It is,
Can't
because
beat it.
so I'm not far off 50. I'm feeling like I'm getting on a bit for me, and I wanted to do something that was the absolute antithesis of me. I'm girly. I'm fairly typically girly, and so actually motorbiking, and some people, I've got lots of friends who are motorbiking, a few in particular. I've been out pillion, and I just thought, you know what, I love this. I love that it's completely the opposite of me, that no one's going to expect it. I love that it's going to challenge me, because I'm really scared, because I haven't got a clue about motorbikes. I don't know what any of that does, feet, hands, whatever. And so it's a real challenge for me to overcome. And then to say to people, I'm a biker chick, actually felt quite good at 48. I'm like, boom. I just felt that was where I was at that moment last year after the lockdown. And it just felt really brilliant. And I adore it. I absolutely adore it.
God, I feel a bit inadequate. I grew a beard.
I started playing golf. Mine's definitely not midlife crisis. I think mine's end of life crisis. And it's like most of the people at our golf club are 20 years older than me. I think I've done
a very recent.
I think I've gone the wrong way.
Oh, for me, yeah. So 2012 is when I started growing it, and it was black back then. But now I'm more Santa Claus than anything else. So.
Hey, Baz, what do you do?
So I said earlier that we're at the Windsor Horse Show. I work in the event world. So I was a surveyor for 25 years, and then started marking out events like big country events. And one of the ones I do is the Royal Windsor Horse Show. But then I also work at them as well. So it's just it's just facilitating events when they're on. So I've done some TV studio stuff, but it's all the stuff that happens outside of the actual studio.
Yeah.
So it's just building stuff mainly.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Someone said that's not just a beard, that's the beard in capital letters.
That's respect. That's beard respect.
It is, yeah.
For a quick fill up.
The beard for me is the fuller beard is very much a winter thing for me. So I'm getting close now. It's September, October is when I start cultivating it. So kind of February, March is when it gets to full kind of full length, and then it comes back off again. I can't bear it in the summer. It's
probably the moment to explain the pub name at this point as well, because obviously you were fuller of beard.
If you noticed that, Alex, that the we came up with our virtual pub. The visuals in the background is actually Coronation Street. It's the Rovers' Return, which obviously is close to my heart, obviously, because it's up north. But yeah, this over to the top left is the name of our pub. Our pub's called the Brace of Reedlings, and the reason that it's called the Brace of Reedlings is because the other name for a Reedling, the more common name for a Reedling, is the bearded tit. Our pub is called the Brace of Reedling because we are a pair of bearded tits. There you go. So I've asked briefly. I wasn't surfing the internet when I was typing away there. I was asking if anybody's got any final questions for you, because I know you've got to get.
I'm really happy I can stay.
Oh yay! There you go. We've won a round, guys. She's got to stay. So tomorrow I'm going to watch tomorrow. I'm going to watch on. You can get BBC. You can get the regions on Sky. So I'm going to watch it tomorrow.
And on the iPad.
And if you're flagging a bit, I'll be like, do you know what? There's a combination.
She is knackered.
She had a couple of drinks with us last night, and she's been working since 9. I know what's going on there.
That's a really small one now. I'm like.
So, right then. Kathy Stewart has asked, what future plans do you have?
Ooh.
I presume that's for you and not me with the beard. I think it is directed at me.
I'm going to grow a beard. Very interesting question. So I don't have future plans to go on to kind of any network news. I love regional. So for me, over the past couple of years, through COVID, regional has been it's been a lifeline for so many people. They've really reached out to us, and we've just got that wonderful I know people take the mickey and they say, oh, is a cat up the tree story or whatever.
Yeah.
But we've got that lovely juxtaposition where we can be doing a story about something really serious. And at the end of the program, we're doing a story about something that's actually quite inspiring. Someone's done something that's really lovely or really hilarious or whatever. So we've really got something that I think relates to people, which I love. So I want to keep doing this for as long as they want me to keep doing it. However, I want to kind of develop stuff outside of that. So a couple of years ago, I started upholstery, and I was learning that kind of real intense horsehair, threading, knotting, Hessian, proper, not just your bit of foam that you do that and then get a stapler, proper upholstery. And now I've just started learning silversmithing. So I think there is something creative in me that's bubbling away, which is weird because when I was younger, I was really rubbish at anything creative. I kind of epically failed art and design. But something in my 40s has started going a bit bubbly. And I definitely feel that, I don't know, silversmithing, something like that, is where I'm going, but always with my main purpose being the news, or maybe do other programming. Like, for example, I'd happily do a series about a girl biking around the world. You know,
Yeah.
I'm feeling my way at the moment. I feel like I'm going through a bit of a transition, but keeping that local news there, but exploring stuff outside it.
Are you in a position where you can take an idea to a producer and say, you know, look, and I don't mean this potentially, but where you could say, I'm a bit of a name, which is a good start for a producer. Here's something I'm pitching to you, which maybe is the either the crafting thing or the motorcycling thing. You probably got a good in with somebody there, haven't you?
I wish. I think the thing is nowadays, if you're going to present a program, there are so many names that are readily available, and I'm very regional. I'd love to, you know, somebody to snap me up and say, right, let's do a Alex explores somewhere on a motorbike or something. I would adore that. And yes, I could. Anybody can. If anyone's out there thinking, I want to pitch an idea or a game show, producers are hungry for new formats.
Yeah.
So many formats are being regurgitated in various different ways. So they're really keen to hear ideas. But so someone like Dermot O'Leary, I remember I started out just a little bit after him, and I met him, and I also heard about him. He was always going, I mean, this is hearsay, so I'm, you know, I don't know it's a fact, but I'm pretty sure it's right, and I don't think he'd mind me saying it. He was always coming up with format ideas, going to see producers. Here's a new idea. Here's a new idea. And obviously they got to know him, and he's like an ideas person. He's a forward-thinking person. So anybody can go with ideas that they've got. I think for me, maybe, I don't know, this is why I joined TikTok. So I thought I want to explore other things apart from the news.
Yeah. Where
I might be able to promote myself as somebody who's actually learning this, or is happily out on a bike, or you know, whatever it might be, in order to, you know, keep that going.
But there's probably a strength in there for a producer to already have someone that's like that, you know, in your case is well known to a certain group of people, because you already have an audience then, don't you? You don't have to sort of send, you know, two bearded idiots out on push bikes around, you know, somewhere in London trying to attract an audience.
Well, that's a phenomenal idea. That's a great idea for the show, man.
Yeah,
don't write that off, mate. Don't write that off.
We'll happily come down to the south and do that for you if you like. So no, but what I'm saying is,
it's a partridge thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
You thostling with Chris Eubank.
Yes.
Let's not get
monkey tennis. I love
every
that.
time.
Oh, I love Partridge because listen, you talked about Partridge and you work for the BBC. There must be people like Partridge in the BBC. You don't need to name names.
That's a great observation.
Institutionalized BBC types. There must be.
Yeah, but not just in the BBC. You hear it on national radio. You can hear. You look for once you're au fait with partridgeisms, and isn't there on Twitter an accidental partridge?
Yes.
Have you seen that?
So good.
Brilliant.
It's on TikTok as well.
Yeah.
So good.
Is there? Brilliant.
Yeah.
Accidental partridges or partridgeisms.
Yeah.
They are superb. And yeah, it's very easy to do. It's very easy to get cheesy. It's very easy in local news to come off the back of a report and go, and we wish him well. And it's like, oh, don't be that cheesy. So I really try not to do that. But actually, you're thinking, I really do wish him well. So how am I going to say it without sounding like I'm partridgeisming? So yeah,
that accidental partridge on TikTok is pretty much full of Richard Madeley on Good Morning Britain at the moment. It really is.
Love the RM.
Well, he's another one from Granada. He's another one like that.
You're right. I've seen a report that he did. He had the kind of whole jacket over his shoulder thing.
Yeah, and he's another one that if I saw him in the shop, I'd be like, if I saw him in the shop walking out with wine he'd not paid for. That's a joke that not many people under the age of 30 will get, by the way.
You're still one bottle of wine, and that's your whole history.
If I saw him walking out of Tesco in Wilmslow without paying for his wine, no. But if I saw him in the shop, he'd be one of those people. I'd probably just think like the people who approach you, just like, "No, Richard, what bastards go? Yeah, I don't actually know him."
Well, it's different though. Some people just freeze. They'll just go. And actually that's more obvious. I'd rather that they come up and go, all right, or they'll message me on Twitter and say, oh, I saw you today, but I didn't want to come and disturb you. I'm like, please come and say hello. I freaking love it. I love it. People are so nice, and it's nice to see who's on the other side.
Baz
had that in York. What was it?
Twice in the same night. It was very bizarre. From Instagram, I'm on there as well. So yeah, literally, someone came up to me and said, "Oh, did it take you?" My content on TikTok is and Instagram is I do like transitional clothes changes, and someone came up to me in a pub and did it take you long to get dressed? And I was like, no. She just went like this, and I was like, oh, that's really bizarre.
That's what they're talking about.
But also, sorry,
Mike.
Well, I mean, Baz. It's really odd that Baz gets recognised in public because he kind of, as you can see, he just kind of blends into the background when he goes and sits into a pub. Do you know what I mean? It was like, how do people even know? He's just got this kind of nondescript, bland look to him. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, how does anybody even notice it's him?
I don't even know what to say. That's so horrible.
Look at him.
We joke about it all the time. It's fine. It's
okay.
But
Mike, have you been?
The point is, he's the most distinctive person in the world. Yeah. That's what I mean.
So, Mike, have you been recognised yet?
No.
Well, he lives in Ireland. There's nobody there.
I live in Ireland. 4% of my following lives in Ireland too, which is quite nice. I quite like it because I quite like having a decent following. And lots of we've got lots of people who are in the comment section here who kind of support us in everything that we do. And I love having like kind of just like being tinily amount of famous in this small little bubble. But then you walk down the shops and no one gives a shit who you are. Do you know what I mean? So you don't get any of the issues that you were talking about before. And it's not like people will hound you or things like that. It's just no one cares.
Well, that's good if you've been day drinking, as you call it.
I suspect though, if you lived in Bury and were out about in the Manchester region, you would be readily recognised.
Yeah. Oh mate, I'd caught it. I'd go live on TikTok and go like, find me for 50 quid or something. You know what I mean? And like enforce people to come and find me. I might do that actually. I might do that. I might get a flight to England somewhere and just go find me for 50 quid.
Find me now.
And just stand in front of a bus station sign. It's blatantly obvious where I am.
So have we got much interaction?
Oh, in the comment section.
Yes.
We got. Oh, so Jill is saying there's often chat about ageism and sexism in journalism. Is this your experience?
Oh, this is quite like a.
Not anymore.
Yes.
Really?
No, not anymore. Well, not in my experience. I mean, I'm getting older, and no one's suggested that I need to pop off. They might do.
Riding a motorcycle.
Yeah. Yeah, that's because I've gone so fast. I've given myself a face. No, I haven't experienced.
Always keep the visor open.
Yeah. Oh, I can't. Honestly, the amount of bugs you eat. Do either ride motorbikes?
No.
I have done, so I do remember it. Yeah.
What did you have?
Oh, so I started off as a 16-year-old and then an 18-year-old. I only got up to like a 70cc motorcycle, but I crashed it within 6 months of owning it. So I decided I wasn't going to do it anymore because
yeah.
I wrote myself off quite badly. But I did. Yeah. So I have experienced the bug life, as it were.
Yeah.
And
also, when you go down the motorway, I don't have a screen on my. So I've got my helmet on, but I don't have a screen on my bike. I need to get one. So literally 70 miles an hour is like thwack, 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 thwack. It's so harsh. I'm so now, and it's not one of those shaped bikes. It's really harsh. I don't like it.
Well, I've never ridden a motorcycle, and the reason for never riding a motorcycle is I know I would love it, and I know I'm not responsible enough to do it.
That's why I don't do it.
Honestly, I would absolutely love it, and I know I would. I'd be a dick.
You know what? There are some really good things you can do. So, for example, I had a brilliant teacher. They were really, really thorough in terms of the kind of risks that you can have and so on. Then shortly after I passed, I got myself an air vest. That's a company. Other companies, blah.
You're not on a BBC. It's all right. Plug whatever you want.
So you plug in, literally, you come off your bike, my air vest will go poof, and it will protect all my vital organs from the top of my neck down to my coccyx. And so I feel really safe having that on board. Also, I've gone out, loads of police forces nowadays get their police motorcyclists to do a kind of a day's riding. So you probably do half a day in normal times in a classroom, and then you go out and ride in the afternoon. One police officer with 3 bikers. Because of COVID, I ended up having 6 hours riding in Wales, just over the bridge, where they have the most wonderful windy roads with a police officer. And it's hilarious because he'll always be in the second position. So the person in front, he's monitoring, and the 2 of us will be watching behind. Then he pulls us all over, and it looks like 3 people have been pulled over by 1 police officer. But the amount I learned, my confidence went from here as an absolute non-biker, having never biked, blah, 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 massively elevated within, not confident as in reckless, but confident as in actually I made good decisions. Like, for example, at one point, there was a guy who was leading, police officer second, me and the guy's wife behind me. They were going off, being blokes, you know, riding away. And I couldn't keep up. And I felt I was getting that kind of hot sweat, which is, this is challenging. I don't like it. I'm feeling a bit scared. I fell right back. Ended up pulling over when we eventually caught up with them. I apologized to his wife, and I said, I'm sorry I went slower. I didn't feel confident. I've only been riding for 9 months. And she said, I was so glad when you slowed down. And the police guy said, you rode within your ability. And actually, all of that was kind of affirmative in terms of make right decisions for what your capabilities are. So, yeah.
I did the same. I started. I learned to snowboard probably 5-6 years ago.
That's cool.
Yeah, and it just I did it with my daughter, and she kind of gave up, and I carried on. So I went on a couple of trips, and wherever there's a good amount of snow, it's fine. But whenever it gets icy, that's when. This is an interesting one. It's when you're skiing. If it's flat when you're skiing, you're fine because you just put your skis parallel and do that. But if it's if it's relatively flat when you've got a snowboard, because you've got to turn like this, it's really easy to catch the front edge and just go straight over front. So flat is the worst thing for snowboarders. But yeah, if it's flat or icy, I just turn into the snowboarding version of Driving Miss Daisy, and I'm just like teetering around like this. My mate's flying down. But like you said before, it's like, I'm keeping myself alive. I'm keeping myself alive by boarding into my ability, because I've only been doing it a few years.
An idiot. Do what you can do and stay alive.
Yeah, exactly.
So see how you get on. Why not do so? When you learn to get on your bike, there are so many blooming things you have to do. The first thing is the CBT, which, very basic. It's a whole day. You do a lot of classroom stuff. Then you get out, you go on your bike, and then after lunch, probably in most places, this is what we did, you have a couple of hours with the instructor on the road. Do that. See how you feel. If you feel that you're reckless and could kill yourself, then bin it off, never do it again. But it's wonderful. I found it really liberating and exciting, and it challenges me every time I ride. I find it exhausting because there's so much to think about that we take for granted when we're in a car. Every bit of the road that's so when they've realigned the road and it's got that kind of remade bit down the side of it, that's all really skiddy, it's really slidey, so we have to stay off it. Then you can see there's a load of rubbish that's been left on the side, or horse rubbish,
You can't say the word shit, you're not on the BBC.
I can't. It's programmed into me. I can't.
We've been really clean tonight, purely because
but we behaved ourselves tonight.
So is this really tame?
Yeah, but not in a bad way. It's just like, we're just kind of like, it's like I don't want to say this.
We're both really aware that, like, once it's on the internet, it's on the internet forever. So don't worry about that. Can I ask you a question?
Get you in trouble either.
Yeah. So does your partner ride a bike? So what were they like? Was it that kind of, why are you doing this? Because it's quite a different thing to take on. Sorry, this sounds really horrible, but sort of later in life, it's usually people start riding when they're much younger, don't they?
Yeah, completely. Yeah. And also, I think very often it can be more dangerous when you're later in life and coming to it, feeling all confident as a car driver, and then you're like having your midlife crisis, getting on a motorbike with not very much experience of dirt bikes or riding off road and that kind of thing. So he's endlessly patient with me.
Yeah.
I think at first he was a bit like, okay. Came along, was really supportive. I did some extra lessons before I took the CBT because I was so clueless. It's like I really didn't know what any of this, these digits were doing.
Yeah.
And just supported me. And then it was hard, actually, doing the, you have to do the CBT, then your written exam, the what's it called, the practical
theory
stuff.
test.
Yeah.
And then you have to do mod 1 and mod 2. Mod 1 is in a very controlled environment, a kind of virtual, it's like a car park with very anti-skid floor, and you have to do a number of very specific moves. So first of all, you have to go in, park your bike, manually move it from one parking space to another. Then you have to do a kind of slalom, then a figure of 8, then slow riding at like no miles an hour without wobbling, then a U-turn. It's just like, but he is very patient, endlessly. He just wants me to be careful and
safe.
Yeah, which I'm trying to be.
So when you're having the tattoos? when you having the tattoos done?
So, as part of the life crisis, I went on the internet and I got some of those transfers. I'm like, yeah. That's as far as I've gone.
It's coming. I can see it. I know we've not known each other long, but I can see it. It's on its way.
Have you both got it?
You'll soon look like this, trust me.
You soon look like Baz.
Have you got one?
Obviously with less facial hair. Although, you know, like, when you get older, maybe. Who knows? Right, so we got a question from Kathy Stewart saying, do you enjoy the TT on the Isle of Man? I mean, are you very, I mean, you're very new to riding a bike. Are you, do you like watching, you don't watch?
No, I haven't really got into that, because for me, that whole, so I probably will. I haven't done one of those days yet. I want to do it where you get onto a racetrack, not so much to get that bend where your knee actually almost scrapes on the floor, but just to see what I can do with my bike and to push myself in a safe environment so I can learn better. But it's like driving a car and being into Formula One. I'm not. Is that bad? Probably is bad. But
no, it's a good point. I love driving, but Formula One bores me. So it's the same sort of thing.
So I've been to the Isle of Man and I've driven the entire circuit of the TT course. And you look at that and you kind of go, these people are crazy. Like literally, there are some corners there where that they've just put a bit of padding on a wall around a lamppost, and you're like, these people go around there at hundreds of miles an hour, and you're like, these guys. And also, I'm friends with somebody who's won the TT.
Wow.
Well, there's loads of categories. There's literally in a day there might be 20 different races, and he's won his category a few times. And I suppose
what's his category? Domino delivery drivers.
Well, he's from Man anyway, but so people there are kind of grown up on it. But when you drive around it, you're literally like, it feels dangerous in a car. So going around there at like 60 miles an hour on a bike would be.
So that was interesting. When I went out with the police driver, with the police biker, the guy was leading, police biker, me and his wife, as I said before, and the police biker, he's on a great big BMW. There is no road that he couldn't ride at an excessive speed if he had to chase someone in the dark on a road he's never been on before. Their skills are unbelievable. I mean, epic. They are like glue on the road. It's just incredible. So yeah, I'm way
when I was a kid, if you'd have asked me up to the age of like 13 what I wanted to be when I grew up, it was a motorcycle cop.
Yeah. Did you watch Chips?
I've never read Chips. I watched Chips when I was a kid, and I was like, "That's me."
It's not too late.
Me. Do you know what I mean? And I was like,
"So how have you not had a biking experience?"
When I was 9 or 10, my uncle had a motorbike, and I remember being in his garage. Not even 9 or 10. I must have been younger, maybe 6. I was in his garage, and it was up on the stand, and he said, "Do you want to sit on it?" I was like, "Yeah," because like I said, I was into Chips, so I sat on it, and he started it up while I was sat without telling me. He started it up.
We're like, wow.
And it just went and obviously echoing in the garage. Absolutely shit myself, and I was just like, "This isn't for me." This. But then as I've got older, I've been like, yeah, that would be cool. And I'm just thinking it would be too cool. And
you know yourself, maybe.
I know I would be irresponsible and obsessive if I did it. So I'd much rather get obsessive about golf. And it's a much safer thing to get obsessive about. I mean, I'm not going to get hurt. Other people might be. Other people might be as my drive fires towards them on the other tee or something like that. But I'm very safe when I'm playing golf. So,
well, the day we played golf, we were nearly killed, weren't we?
To be fair, yeah, we were.
Just as an aside, the guy that sold this house that I live in now left England to become a California highway patrolman. That's what he does now. He sold up everything and moved to America, and he's now
literally living the dream.
Yeah, exactly.
Literally living the dream. Right, guys, that is weird. You know, I like to keep it at 90 minutes, and we've just done that. So, Alex, stay where you are. We'll have a chat after we finish. But thanks everyone again for your interaction. Thanks, Alex, again for being on. Thoroughly enjoyed myself. Thanks for everyone for interacting in the comment section. And we will see you next week. I don't know who's on next week, but it's going to be someone amazing. I promise you. If you're one of the people who follow us on TikTok, it's not that I don't know. It's not that somebody is on next week. It's just we haven't got anyone booked for next week.
We're going to wing it.
And I've just forgotten who it is.
It'll be me
Let's make sure people know how professional I am. I just haven't booked anyone for next week yet. But anyway, it'll be amazing because only amazing people get on this show.
Which has been proven tonight.
So thanks so much, everybody, for your interaction. Thanks for supporting and everything we do. As always, if you are one of the guys from TikTok, Friday night, 9 p.m, the live pub quiz is back after 2 months off while I've been away for the summer. The live pub quiz this week is up against Swiss Evans. So Will is coming back. We're doing that again Friday, 9 o'clock on TikTok. Search it out and I'll see you there. All right. So thanks everyone for being here. I'll see you all soon.
I was just saying, well, too late. All right.
No, I've not pressed end stream yet. You can go on.
I was just going to say, for everyone who's watching, who's going to be watching this later, where can everybody keep up with you, Alex? What are the socials you're on?
Oh, Baz, thank you.
Baz, you've made me look really shit now.
This is literally a learned behaviour for this evening. I'm just telling you right now.
We're going to have words later, pal. We're going to have words. Honestly, Alex, I'm a nice guy. I am a nice guy. Go on then. Tell them where they can find you.
Where can we find you, Alex?
I'm on Twitter, Alex Lovell TV. I'm on TikTok, Alex Lovell _ because someone else had taken my name.
Boo.
Might be their own name, so I'm not jealous.
Well, it might be a person just posting a load of Alex Lovell in tights videos.
Yeah, don't subscribe to them. And I'm on Instagram, so I'm trying to go across everything. I'd love to build my TikTok. I don't get it. I post one video that I think is really brilliant and it gets 2 views. I post one that I think is really boring and it's like 50,000 views and I'm like, don't get it. Help me out. Give me feedback.
Alex, Alex, I'll be in touch. I've got loads of really good ideas.
Tell me.
No, seriously, I will be your TikTok consultant.
Thank you. I'll be your agent.
Everyone, you've seen it here first. This is what's happening here. I'm going to get a job on telly and she's going to be flying on TikTok. Good night, everyone. Thanks very much.
See you later, everyone. Thanks very much. Bye.